we can perform mathematical operations on our variables, such as division, subtraction, multiplication, and addition. Before we demonstrate that, we need to know how these scripts actually work. So how can we run what we write in this script? In order to do that, we need to go in our Unity editor. And we know in our hierarchy panel that we have game objects, or the hierarchy panel will list game objects that we have here in the scene. So let us create an empty game object, and we are going to go under game object and click here, create empty. Now don't worry, this is just a simple demonstration. When we start creating our games, we are going to take a look at game objects in more depth. So under game object, click on create empty, and here we can see with these arrows, it is actually empty and we don't see it because it does not have anything, but these arrows indicate where our game object is located here in our scene. As I said, don't worry, we will take a look at game objects more closely when we start creating our games. But at the moment, we want to demonstrate how the scripting works. So in order to execute what's inside of this script, we need to attach it on this game object. There are a couple of ways that we can do so. We can simply drag this script, and notice here in the inspector panel, we only have transform as the property of our game object. If I drag the script and drop it on the game object, notice here in the inspector panel now we have the script attached on the game object. If we want to remove this script from this game object, we are going to click on this gear icon, which is here near this script, near the book icon right here. Click on the gear icon and click remove component. Another way to add a script to the game object is to select that specific game object in the hierarchy panel and drag this script here in the inspector panel like this, and we will attach it on the game object. And the last way, and I'm going to remove the script again, we can click here on add component, and here we can filter or search for the script. We can click here under scripts, and here we have our script. But more often than not, we are going to filter inside of this search bar, because if we have 10, 20, or 30, or even more scripts in our project, we are simply going to type the name of the script. So here, my script, and we are going to click on it, and it is attached on the game object. Now be careful, you can attach one script multiple times on the same game object. So here in the inspector panel, we see that we have attached my script on our game object. We can drag and drop it again and attach it one more time. So now we have two my scripts, which are the same scripts, attached on single game object. So be careful that you don't attach one script multiple times on a game object. And I'm going to remove one of these. And when we press play here, so we have these three buttons, play, pause, and this is frame by frame button. So we will go in our game one frame at a time. If I press play button, now when we run the game officially runs, we are going to execute everything that we put here in our script. But we did not put anything, so we did not execute anything. This start function is used for initialization, which is written here in the comment. Now, don't worry. I said in the previous video also that we are going to take a look at functions at a closer depth. But at the moment, just know that this right here is called a function, and it is called when we run our game. In order to demonstrate that, we can print to this console. So we know that we have here a console tab. We can print to it from within our script. There are two ways that we can do so. We can type here print like this, and here we can pass a string. So here is a string, here is a string, and this will be printed in the console. Or we can use debug.log, and also here we can pass a string. I can type here printed from script. So you can use either debug.log or print and pass a string, of course with quotation marks, and that what you pass will be printed in the console. You can use, as I said, print or debug.log. I am going to use debug.log. And now because this is in the start function, it will be run immediately when we run the game. If I go back and run the game, we are going to see printed from script here in the console. And that demonstrates how we can, well, print or execute our functions, or excuse me, our scripts. So now let us go back to our topic, and that is addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division with our variables. We know that we have floats, doubles, and integers. Double and float are decimal, and integer is a whole number. We can perform mathematical operations on them. So for example, here I can create an int a is equal to 2 plus 3, for example. This is going to be equal to 5. I can also type 2 minus 3, which is minus 1. I can divide them, I can multiply them, so on and so forth. But this right here will be counted as one number and it will be added here in our integer. We can also do something like this. We can type int a, and here we can type int b is equal to 3. And now we can declare int c is equal to a plus b, or a minus b, or any other mathematical operation. And it will perform that operation on these two integers, or on the value that these integers have, because we know in the previous video that we first type the type of the variable we want, and then we name that variable, and after that we assign a value. So this a variable is a type of integer which has a value of 2. The same goes for the b, but its value is 3. So 2 plus 3 is 5. And we can demonstrate that. So we can go here and we can type debug.log, and here we need to pass a string. So we can type 2 plus 3, and we need to append this c to our string. Now, if we type c right here, so it's equal to c, this will not work. It will type 2 plus 3 is equal to c. And in order to demonstrate that, I'm going to go here, run the game, and we see that 2 plus 3 is equal to c. Now, we don't want this. We want to print the value of this c variable. In order to do that, we need to use string concatenation. And string concatenation goes like this. So we type 2 plus 3 is equal to, and all of this is a string. But now we want to add an integer to our string. We can simply go here and type plus c, and c is our integer variable, and it will convert this variable into a string, and all of this right here will be a string, and it will be printed out in the console. So if I go back in my Unity editor now, notice that we had here 2 plus 3 is equal to c. But if I run the game now, we are going to see 2 plus 3 is equal to 5, which is the result of our addition right here. So what we can also do, and I'm going to change here to 5 and here to 2. And instead of a plus b, I'm going to type a minus b, and here also. So here is going to be 5 minus 2. If I go here and run the game, we're going to see 5 minus 2 is equal to 3. We can also do that with multiplication. So I can multiply, and here I'm also going to type multiply. So 5 multiplied by 2, if I go back here, it's going to be equal to 10, as we see here. If we want to clear the console, because every time we are printing to it, we can click on this clear button and it will clear everything that's written in this console. Now, one thing now you're going to notice when we use division, because we are dividing whole numbers. So 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. But if I go back here and run the game, we are going to see that 5 divided by 2 is equal to 2. Now, why is that? Well, because we are using here integers. An integer is a whole number. An integer cannot have any decimal point numbers after it. And that is why 5 divided by 2 using an integer is equal to 2. If we want more precision, we need to type here float. So here I'm going to type 5f for a float, and again float 2f, and here float c is going to be equal to 2 or A divided by B, which is 5 divided by 2. If I go back in the console or in my Unity editor and run the game now, we see that 5 divided by 2 is now equal to 2.5. So if you want decimal point number precision, you will need to use float because integers are whole numbers and it will not work with integers. Of course, we don't need to do it like this, so we don't need to declare all of these variables and then type them out. Instead of typing here plus C, we can perform an operation right here. So we can open close parentheses and we can type here 5 divided by 2 or 5 plus 2. And here I'm also going to type plus. And this right here will also work the same as if we declared here int A is equal to 5 and int B is equal to 3 and int C is equal to A plus B, so on and so forth. This will work the same way. So we don't need to declare these variables in order to perform these mathematical operations. And if I go back and run this, we are going to see that 2 plus or 5 plus 2 is equal to 7. So this actually works. And we are also not limited to only two numbers. We can type here plus 3, plus 4, plus, I don't know, any number that you want. The same thing goes here. We don't need to type int A or int C is equal to A plus B. We can type A plus B plus C. So let me just type plus C plus E, so on and so forth. How many numbers you want, there is no limit to them. Of course, this is just basic mathematics that we learned in the first grade. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We are going to use all of these operations to move our player, to make him jump, so on and so forth. So if we type our player's position plus 2, it will move on the right side. If we type minus 2, it will move to the left side because I already explained that the coordinate system in Unity for the x-axis is positive on the right and negative on the left side. For the y-axis, it's positive up and negative down. And as I said, these are the operations that we can perform. So we can type here 5 plus 2, add this to a string using string concatenation, or we can declare variables, and we can also declare variables int A is equal to 4 multiplied by 4 minus 2 plus 3. So plus 3. This is totally legit, so we can do all of these things. We are not limited only to typing A is equal to, I don't know, for example, 2, so on and so forth. Of course, we are not going to declare our variable. So when we want to declare a variable int A is equal to 5, we are not going to type 2 plus 3. So A is equal to 2 plus 3. No, we are going to type 5. But within our code, within our game, we are going to use all of these operations when we want to calculate something. And don't worry, this is just a basic intro to give you enough tools that you need to get you started. When we start building our games, we are going to go step by step and we are going to explain everything in detail what we encounter. So don't worry, these are just basic operations that I'm giving you so that you have something to work with or that you have some knowledge to start building games. But don't worry, we are going to go again and again and again throughout all of this, what we are mentioning right now. So don't worry. So in short, this was the basic operations that we can perform with our variables. And also we learned string concatenation. Of course, we are not limited to only integers, booleans, and doubles, or integers, floats, and doubles. To add to a string, we can add a boolean, we can even add another string. So here instead of 5 plus 2, I can add another string. So here I can type another string, and this works because we are concatenating two strings. It does not have to be a boolean, double, float, or integer, as I said. So string concatenation puts two strings together, or integer and a string together, or a boolean and a string, together, so on and so forth. Next, we are going to take a look at these functions so that we can finally understand what this actually means here. So void, start, so on and so forth. So let's take a look at that.